All right. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome to our Find Your Calm webinar about going back to school. Thank you all for joining us. Inshallah, we'll just get started in a minute here as people start to join. All right, so I'll just go ahead and get us started, inshallah. So again, welcome to our Find Your Calm webinar. We're super excited to talk to you about going back to school today. My name is Maham. I'll be moderating this session. We have a lot of lovely speakers here today to share a lot of information and knowledge and experience with you. So we're excited to get started. Just to let you know how this is going to work, we're going to have each speaker talk a little bit, and then towards the end, there will be a Q&A where you guys can submit questions in the chat or also anonymously. We'll be talking more about that. Before we get into the talk, I just want to explain that this event is a partnership. So Minna is partnering with a couple of other organizations, and I'm going to have a leader from each organization introduce those. So we'll start with Minna. We're going to have Zakaria Zaid, our incoming president, introduce Minna.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. Like Mom said, my name is Zakaria. I am the incoming president for the Muslim Youth in North America. Just to give you guys a quick background on what we do at Minna, alhamdulillah, Minna is a organization that is for the youth, by the youth. And what that means essentially is we put on a bunch of, virtual, now virtual, and hopefully soon, in-person events, camps, halakas, conferences, and things like that for the Muslim youth in North America between the ages of 12 to 18. But the cool thing about Minna is all of these events, all of these camps, these halakas, these conferences, all of that, they are planned by people between the ages of 12 to 18. So myself, and then inshallah you guys will meet some other people within the Minna organization who put on these awesome events. We're all between the ages of 12 to 18, and alhamdulillah, Minna is something that has changed my life, and everyone that I've talked to about Minna and everyone who's been to a Minna camp has, told me about how life-changing it can be. And alhamdulillah, I'm just so thankful for it to be in my life. So, okay.
Thank you, Zach, for introducing Minna. Next, we have Sister Iman, who is going to introduce AMHP.
Hey, assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Iman Jendadi. I'm the program coordinator for American Muslim Health Professionals, more commonly known as AMHP. Our mission is to bring together and strengthen the impact of Muslim health professionals to improve the health and wellness of all Americans. And our vision is to be a leader in improving public health through efforts inspired by the Islamic tradition. And we have three broad areas of focus: professional development of health professionals, healthcare advocacy for uninsured and underinsured communities. And more recently, our big focus is mental health. And we're actually enrolling a virtual mental health first aid training series. So definitely after this webinar or in the future, if this is something you want to learn, definitely visit our website, amhp.us. If you're a high school or college student and you're aspiring to, major in something healthcare related, either nursing or, to become a physician or public health, definitely check out amhp.us. And we're excited to bring this webinar, and we thank you for, dedicating your Saturday afternoon to this. So I'll let the other speakers take over.
Thank you, Sister Iman. We're super excited to partner with AMHP. I'm super excited for this webinar, inshallah. And lastly, we have Nassiha Mental Health. So I have Sister Rufaida here to introduce.
I think you're on mute. You're on mute.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Sorry about that. Thanks so much. I didn't realize that I was on mute. So I'm just going to share my slides just for a quick second, and then inshallah, we'll be able to begin. Can everybody see my screen? Yep, awesome, wonderful. Thank you so much. So my name is Rafaida Mohammed, and I am the head of project development for Nassiha Mental Health. And so we are an organization that's geared to providing services for individuals and communities across Canada and the US, and in fact, internationally. So we have a live telephone service. We also have chat services, and a lot of the peer-to-peer support platforms with our call center, our crisis line, as well as our text line, address issues from individuals that call in about drugs, bullying, religion, relationships, pornography, addictions, you name it. It's an anonymous, free telephone service for counseling services. It's non-judgmental, it's confidential. So we do urge you to call in. I'll present that number shortly. Interesting facts is that 71% of the callers that do come in are female, 29% are male. Another interesting fact is that a lot of our calls actually do come from the States. And if you can see the infographics that are just on my screen, we've got calls from New York, Michigan, New Jersey, Illinois. In fact, about 51% of our calls do come from the States. And just some more information about our data is that from January 1st to February 29th, pre-COVID, our calls had to do, a lot of them coming in had to do with, 18% had to do with mental health, and 22% had to do with personal relationships or interpersonal relationships, and then 35% had to do with spirituality and psychological issues. But during COVID, the mental health piece just exploded. So 26% of the calls coming in now have to do with mental health issues. So there is definitely a need out there in the community that youth are expressing, young adults are expressing with regards to some of the experiences they're having, some of the mental health stresses that they're experiencing, just even through the crisis line that they're using. So we do outreach in the community. We do services such as workshops and educational seminars with schools and community groups and private schools and Islamic groups. And they center around self-esteem, suicide prevention, wellness, building resilience, anti-bullying, mental health, you name it, we kind of like put it out there. We do support the community in terms of when there are situations of crisis. And these are just a couple of scenarios that have played themselves out, through the years. And then again, just to make sure that you are familiar, we do have that toll-free phone number, and just in case you do, it's 1-866 Nassiha. And you can just Google us and find us that way. So thank you so much. I really do appreciate the time that you're taking to attend this webinar, and hopefully it'll bring you benefit in your lives, inshallah. Jazakallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you so much, Sister Afeda, for joining us today and on behalf of Nassiha and sharing your time with us. So we're going to go ahead and get started with our student speakers. We have two student speakers, Faizan and Yasmine, who have joined us today, and they're going to be providing some of their thoughts on challenges that students face as this new school year starts as students themselves. So first we have Faizan. To introduce him, Faizan Khan is a high school senior in Indianapolis, Indiana. He is involved in Minna, cross country, and various clubs around his school. He likes to play sports, spend time with his family, and hopes to go into child psychiatry after studying psychology in college. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it on to Faizan.
Yeah, Jazakallah. So Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. First and foremost, I'd like to thank all the organizations and everybody behind the scenes for putting all this together. It definitely is not an easy task to do this, and I'd like to thank the organizations for allowing me to speak today. So I when they did reach out to me and they asked me to speak, they kind of just said be open and share what you've been going through these last couple of months, kind of like a reflection of the last couple of months, and then kind of looking ahead to the school year and specific things I'm facing. So when I would ask people like, hey, some people in like college, and I'd like talk to them, they'd be like, hey, you're like second semester senior year, like, grind through all that, in high school, and then the second semester of your senior year, that summer, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be like you're into college, everybody like can drive. Like everybody can drive, you can go see your friends, stuff like that, and really like you don't really have that much of like responsibility, except for like come like August, then it's like college and stuff. But unfortunately, the previous senior class, they weren't able to experience that to its fullest when COVID like happened. It was like the middle of March, and really most people, at least most people that I know, were sticking with the guidelines, and staying inside, and really weren't able to experience that. And unfortunately, the same fate is kind of looking like for my class as well. It's looking like the expectations for my senior year are going to be wildly different than what it actually is. And that's one of the things I wanted to talk about, was my expectations, because like senior year, you're like the oldest in the school. In my school, there's a lot of like senior perks and stuff. So like students can like seniors can like during break, they can go out and like grab lunch. When my older brother was a senior, actually, he would go home and take a nap. So there's just like various perks that come with being a senior at my school. You have your own parking lot, you have your own like hallway where it's just seniors. And unfortunately this year we're not allowed to have most of those. We're allowed to have the parking lot, which is like alhamdulillah for that, but like not having the lockers, not being able to go out and grab food. And obviously like we're upset about it, but most kids in our grade are like understanding that, hey, like this isn't really about us. We can't be making a big deal. Like alhamdulillah, we're able to like, we can complain that oh no, we can't go get Chipotle during lunch. Other people are facing like very like serious like real life challenges that like some families like their parents will like lose their job, have like lost their job. They don't know how they're going to pay rent. They don't know how they're going to get groceries. So in my situation personally, I'm just going to say alhamdulillah for everything I have. And even before I talk about like Corona, like there are so many challenges with the incoming school year, whether you're a senior in high school, freshman in high school, or coming into middle school or going to college. It's just a lot of question marks, going into the school year. It's like, okay, did the classes I signed up for, how am I going to do in them? Or how is like my social life going to look? Like how, like if you play sports, like how's your sports season going to look? And then adding Corona with that, it's not really, how is it going to look? Is it going to be like, is it even going to happen? So my sports season has, the potential to be canceled this year. And I know like, countless people have like worked hard, especially back in spring, not just athletes, but just like all types of people, within school, just kind of having that canceled, not seeing your friends like every single day. That's really, really a big challenge. I just want to dive in real quick, kind of like what my school is doing. My school is doing the hybrid system. So for example, I'll go to school, inshallah, I'll be going to school on Monday in person, but then Tuesday I'll be going virtually. And I just like hop on for like the classes. I just hop on for classes, and then when we have breaks, I can like hop off and stuff. And if I'm being honest, it makes me a little like I get sad, because at school, I remember like going to school and like, just seeing all my friends there. And then like the breaks that we'd have, we just like, we'd hang out, and kind of just like, be like high schoolers, I guess. We really can't do that. Like the administration, they're doing a really good job with it, but they're not allowing, groups of like people to like form in like larger than like 3 or 4. So there's like a lot of regulation. The teachers are working really, really hard. Administration is working really, really hard, and we know that they have our best interest in mind. But obviously, it's very, very challenging. so yeah, it's very it's very difficult because um, when I was like thinking like I talked before about my expectations for my senior year, and actually and even for my summer, like the summertime was a time for me like that, at least I thought, to like unwind and like, you know, basically just like reset and then be ready to go for the next school year. And it really, I wasn't able to like feel that because it really didn't even feel like July happened at all. It just, July was like, we kind of went from like June to like August. And then all of a sudden, like I look at my calendar and it's like August 1st and I'm like, I have a lot of summer work to get done. And that's another challenge that comes along with, um, you know, going to starting school in the Corona era. And first, one thing I just want to say, you know, if I'm speaking, I know Yasmine and Shah is speaking, and Yasmine again is speaking. You know, while we are speaking, it's not like we have all the answers. It's not like we come home every day 100% motivated to get everything done, completely focused, you know, never like no distractions, just like focus 100% of the time. And I just want you to know that is 100% like not true at all. There are so many nights where, especially during quarantine and doing school, where I would get off, like I'd close my computer and be like, I really just like don't want to do anything the rest of the day. It's like 3 p.m. and I'm just like, I can't look at another worksheet. There are so many, you know, there are so many, inshallah, we're going to be diving into like our coping techniques a little bit later, but just know that, you know, we all go through struggles. And when you look around to see the people around you, people may, seem like, oh, they're like, you know, this quarantine was like, oh, completely perfect for them. You know, they came out a much better person, but you know, they everybody's goes through struggle. Allah tests us all in separate ways and stuff. And while someone's struggle may not look the same as yours, but that's what Allah is that's what Allah is testing with us at that time. So just know that first and foremost, like you're not alone. Everybody goes through something like that. Um, and I talked a little bit about like the past, and then now I'm like one of my other concerns about like my college like admissions process. So I wasn't able to take an SAT or ACT before Corona, you know, everything shut down. So inshallah, I'll be taking one this weekend. You know, duas will be greatly appreciated. But you know, I'm taking one next weekend, and it's very challenging right now because it's actually. And I was thinking the other day, I was like, this might become quite a lot because preparing for an SAT, you know, working on my college application, doing schoolwork, you know, going to practice, and any other things I'm involved in, it seems like it really does seem like it's a lot. And yeah, that's where, you know, some nights where I may just be like, all right, I'm ready to, you know, do all this work, get it done. And I'm in bed by 11 and then it's all good. But then there's some nights where I'm just like, I can't do this. And, you know, some nights are just much longer than others. I won't say when I go to sleep because that might scare some people. But, you know, there are some nights where it becomes very long. There's like literally no motivation to do it. And that's just what I want to talk about was just like, hey, this type of stuff happens. And challenges are presenting themselves, but it doesn't mean that you have to go through them alone. You know, talk to people, you know, discuss with people, like say, talk to your teachers, talk with other kids in your grade, just kind of your challenges and stuff like that. And with that, I'd like to end. So yeah, Jazakallah, everybody.
Thank you so much, Faizan. We really appreciate you sharing a youth perspective. You know, as a student myself, it's also reassuring to hear that like other people are, you know, also experiencing this, and no one's really alone with everything going on. So yeah, Jazakumullah khair. Everyone keep Faizan in your duas, inshallah, you know, with the studies and the SATs and everything. Good luck. And next, I'm going to introduce our second youth speaker, Yasmine. Yasmine is going to be talking also about like the college perspective, and she's going to be providing her thoughts on like challenges facing college students with the start of this new school year. So to introduce Yasmine, a Kansas City, Missouri native, Yasmine Tarek has been involved with Minna since her first national camp in 2015. Since then, Minna has had a major impact on her life spiritually, as well as growing as a leader in her community. She is currently a junior majoring in business management while on the pre-medicine track at UMKC. And she is also serving as the president of the MSA at her university. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it on to Yasmine.
Salam, everyone. Thank you guys for all putting this event together. I think it's really needed, especially at a time that we're in now. I was telling some of the speakers before the event that, you know, this event kind of came at almost the perfect time because my semester starts on Monday. And honestly, I don't know about the rest of you, but I do not excel in virtual learning at all. I've always been the type to, you know, thrive in the classroom, like when I'm like in front of the teacher. And, you know, when I was back in like high school, middle school, I was always like sitting in the back type of student. But in college, I had to sit at the front for me to not fall asleep, for one. And for two, to actually like pay attention. Like if they're in my face, I feel like, you know, I retain the, you know, the information a lot better. Now, ever since March, you know, they switched a lot of our classes to online. And that gives you the luxury of like opening up your laptop right as soon as you wake up from bed and just open up your laptop. And there you have a professor trying to teach you while you just barely woke up. So that was honestly one of the biggest struggles. I also I'm not that, you know, good with technology, I would say. Even in Minna, like when they moved to like Connect and they moved to like all these other stuff, I'm just like, I like old school better. So I've always, I feel like done better in like that way. So when college, the tricky thing about it is like everyone has like a lot of opinions about what should we do and how it should be run. A lot of people, you know, I talked to a few of my friends and they're like, no, like we should go in person. Other people are like, no, we shouldn't go in person. To give you guys a little background, my college is also doing a hybrid type of thing, but at the same time, it's at the discretion of the teachers if they would like to have it in person or have it virtual. And I thought that was pretty cool. To give the, you know, the professors are not like forced to come to school. Like I know a lot of elementary teachers are and some high schooler teachers as well. But then it came to a point where like I received some syllabus, you know, emails from my professors and I'm just like skimming through it. And they're like, yeah, so we're going to do completely virtual until it comes to test day. And you guys have to show up and I'll have someone there to like, so the professor's just going to sit back and we're going to have to sit in a room with like 400 people, take a test. And like it's just, that was kind of like, okay, like who are we looking out here for? Like it's like professors are like up here, you know, they already had the good parking spots and now they have, you know, the luxury of not even coming at test day. So honestly, I don't like it. I don't like virtual learning. I was never a fan. But it just at a point where you have to adapt. You don't really have, you know, you can't really be like, I can email my teacher advisor. I don't feel safe on campus. If there's 100 other people doing that I know right now and they're, you know, trying to work with their advisors, but it's just coming to a point where they're telling us if you're in a class and the professor chose to do it in person, then if you don't want to do that, then you need to drop that class and, you know, replace it with something else. So I don't know. And then we're also divided in a lot of different departments. So like the med school has completely shifted to like an online way of learning. So they won't be touching campus at all. And then some other departments like the engineering, the block school of the business school, like they're almost all in person. So depending on what you're majoring in is you're going to be able to tell like who's on campus depending on your major. Another struggle that I have been going through is, like Maham said, I am the incoming MSA president of UMKC MSA. And it's really hard, like it was for Minna. It's really hard to have to build a student body, especially within the Muslims, online. Like it's not very, people don't, you know, they don't jump on events when they're online. They'd rather come to a barbecue in person. So there's been a lot of issues that we're just trying to figure out. I know, especially me and the exec board of the MSA, we're just like, man, what are we going to do for a whole year if it's going to be like this? It's just, it's added to the stress on top of already having almost all of my classes online. Yeah, I would say that it's just comes to a point where you just have to, you know, just go roll with the punches at this point. But like Faizan was saying, it's all like a test from Allah. Like if you think about it, this is like part of history. Part of it, we're gonna be in the books. I was reading that comment, but we're gonna be in the history books. Like this is, we're living through a historical moment right now, and that's, it's pretty cool. But at the same time, it's just, I don't know. It's been stressful for me, my friends. I know a lot of people. I know even some professors, like Haram, like they're struggling too. Like it's never an easy decision. Like for my sister as well, she has her first kid going into preschool, and then she was super excited about that, but now she can't go because she's not going to send her to preschool, obviously. But yeah, that's about it. It's been a struggle for a lot of us, and we have no choice but to push through. And I think that's teaching us a lot in terms of like reality, and it's not going to go your way all the time. You just have to learn to deal with it at the end of the day.
Thank you so much, Yasmine. Your perspective was like super insightful and good to hear, especially when it comes to like college and keeping up with school and studying, while also maintaining like the social aspects and MSA and everything. So yeah, Jazakumullah khair. Everyone keep Yasmine in your du'as as well as she begins her third year of college this week. Inshallah, good luck with everything. So now I would like to introduce our next speaker, Sister Yasmine Irfani. She is going to be discussing some of the mental health challenges that students may be dealing with, especially with the return to school, as well as, providing some coping strategies for that. So Yasmine Irfani is an instructor for adult and youth mental health first aid with American Muslim Health Professionals. She received her MS in college counseling and student services and is currently the youth programs director at National Alliance on Mental Illness, San Fernando Valley. She is especially passionate about training Muslims in suicide prevention since this is very taboo in our community. So I would now like to pass it on to Yasmine, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you so much. Sorry, I'm just collecting myself. Okay. So thank you, Maham, Yasmine, and Faizan for sharing. It's so inspiring and powerful to hear from young leaders like you who are sharing your voices to normalize these really important conversations, especially now. And I love this collaboration that we're all able to have during this time. And in fact, a few years ago, I was actually a camp counselor at 2 of the Mina camps, and I love the work that these youth are doing, so alhamdulillah. And I also just wanted to add, I love what Faizan had shared about everyone being an expert on their own life. Like we may be sharing tools, but it's important to find what works for you. And before I share the different techniques, I want to give full disclosure that I myself have gone through mental health challenges in my personal life. And I've benefited from talk therapy and group counseling sessions as well as many other tools. So everything that I share is a reminder to myself, not just all of us here. So it might not be a surprise that during COVID, mental health challenges have been going on the rise, and there's nothing wrong with any of us for feeling anxiety, depression, or any other mental health challenges. It's just part of being human. So some of the things that we may be feeling include sadness, grief, fear, stress, frustration, guilt, confusion, hopelessness. And on the other hand, we might also find times where we feel joy and gratitude, connection, belonging, and many positive emotions. So it can be a little bit confusing and complex because we might be feeling many things at the same time. But we're all in this together, and there's nothing that you feel which other people aren't feeling as well. So for the students, during this pandemic, it might be harder than usual to focus on your homework and assignments, to stay motivated, to not get distracted, might be having more sleeping issues, feel frustrated or irritated by family members or those you're living with, feel emotionally triggered by things that you may not have reacted to pre-COVID. And that's okay, all your feelings are valid. So just a couple of notes on depression and anxiety. I think it's important to differentiate feelings of sadness and stress from actual mental health challenges, which I like to say, I don't like to say mental illness as much because I think it's a little bit more stigmatizing. So mental health first aid defines depression as a sad or low mood that persists for at least 2 weeks. Depression can lead to physical problems and emotional problems, and it can interfere in functioning at school and at home or anywhere. So what can depression look like? It might look like crying and tears, feeling lonely, feeling hopeless, exhausted, tired. You might have a loss of interest in what used to bring you joy. There could be a lot of negative thoughts about yourself, others, and just life. And it can even lead to thoughts of suicide if it's not treated, which I'll talk about. And on the other hand, there is anxiety, which is a feeling of threat or worry caused by perceived threats in the environment, such as school and home, which are the same thing right now for many youth. And an anxiety disorder differs from everyday stress because it's more severe, it's persistent, and it interferes with a person's studies, activities, and relationships. And this might look like faster heartbeat, faster breathing, sweaty palms, mind is racing, headaches, stomach aches. And so I'm actually feeling these symptoms right now of anxiety because of the public speaking piece. But it's important to remember that it's normal to feel sad or stressed. We're humans. But when these feelings are lingering for 2 or more weeks, it's important to reach out and get the support. And all the organizations on this webinar are here for you, and they care. And because suicide prevention is something which I'm very passionate about, I want to share a few words on that in case there is somebody who is having thoughts of suicide. Please know that you are not alone, and it's actually very common to have suicidal thoughts, especially in difficult situations like the one we are in right now. And Nassiha is just one call or one text away. And as mentioned, it's confidential and nobody else has to know. And so please do reach out. And I know it takes a lot of courage to take that step for yourself. I've worked with a lot of youth and college students, and I can't count the number of people who have shared their suicidal ideations or thoughts of self-harm with me. And it's honestly so heartbreaking that so many of our brothers and sisters are suffering in silence. But on the positive note, I want to share that every single person I've interacted with received the support they needed, and they're feeling okay now. So always have hope. And I'm so grateful for the youth who have reached out for help. They inspire me to do the work that I do every day, and they help me with my own validating myself and my mental health. I just need to take a breath. Okay. So now I'll talk about some of the strategies, and I wanted to start off with self-compassion because I believe that that is an umbrella under which everything else falls. Because if we're valuing our own mental and emotional health, then we're going to take these steps to take care of ourselves. So self-compassion, everything I'm sharing about that is research through Dr. Kristen Neff. And she defines self-compassion as treating yourself the way you would treat a good friend. Because if we're being honest, many of us are very hard on ourselves, but we're very kind and loving to our friends and family. So research shows that self-compassion leads to less anxiety, less depression, and less shame. And self-compassion leads to more life satisfaction, happiness, self-confidence, and better physical health. So who wants more of that? Like all of us, right? So I love that this is so applicable to anyone. And what's great about it is that it's a tool that we have at all times. We might not always have somebody to talk to, but we are with ourselves 24/7, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or the most gracious, most merciful, is with us 24/7 as well. So it's important to cultivate these relationships. And the more love and kindness we have for ourselves, the more we can give to others. So growing up, I kind of got the message that, oh, self-compassion is selfish or it'll make you lazy and things like that. But the research is actually showing that it's not true. It can make us better humans because if I'm able to be with my own pain, then I'm more able to be there with your pain. And there's 3 components of this. So there's the mindfulness, which shows when we're aware of what's going on with ourselves. Then there's the common humanity piece, which reminds us that everyone feels this way at times. There's nothing wrong with me for feeling this way. I'm not alone. All humans are struggling. And the third piece is self-kindness. So instead of name calling and saying things to ourselves like, oh, I'm so stupid, I missed that Zoom call, or why do I always mess up? It's talking to ourselves the way we would talk to a good friend. So I wanted to share a technique with you, which is called the soothing touch. So this might feel a little touchy-feely and awkward at first, but it's really useful to use physical touch for ourselves to help ourselves feel safe and comforted when difficult emotions arise. So if you would be willing to participate, I'm going to share two. So the first one is to put your hands over your heart and just really feeling that warm, caring gesture for yourself. Allah has wired us in a way where our bodies do feel more calm through touch. Even if it's not by a loved one, we can provide that for ourselves. And then the second one is a self hug. And there's many more, but these are the ones I wanted to share. So just like you would give a nice hug to a little kid or someone that you care about, we can do that for ourselves. And I encourage you to practice that through your life. And it's really helped me. It's a great tool. And so by helping your body feel comforted and cared for, it'll be easier for your mind and your heart to follow. Okay, so let's see. The next thing I'd like to share is finding what helps you. We're all different, so what works for your friend might not work for you, and that is totally okay. So how many of us find that when an emotion stirs up inside, like fear, anxiety, sadness, we want to run away as far as possible and reach for our phone or go to Netflix, eat some junk food, play a video game for hours, anything like that? Most of us, because it's only natural that we want to avoid unpleasant feelings. But what research has found is that the less we fight and avoid our feelings, the less scary and overwhelming they become. So you name it to tame it, as Sheikh Sohail Mullah once shared with me when I was going through my difficult time. So even earlier, Faizan had shared that he felt sad about not seeing his friends at school, but by putting a name to that feeling that he felt sad, he's actually finding a way to be with it and then do something about that rather than getting stuck. So when we know how we feel, that's when we can find out what it is we need. So really the tool is asking yourself, what do I need right now? Because we're so good at being there for others, yet sometimes we forget our own selves in the process. So if a student is thinking, I wish I had a high school graduation, they can acknowledge, okay, I feel sad, I'm feeling some grief. And what do I need right now? Maybe that person needs to call a friend or FaceTime them or send someone a text or just journal. Or maybe they just need to cry and release that emotion. There's nothing wrong with crying. It's actually really healthy to just let it out of your system. Or if someone's feeling drained about always being around family, acknowledging, I feel anxious, I feel overwhelmed. And then what do I need right now? Maybe that person wants to go outside for a walk and get some fresh air, or just have some me time and connect with themselves and with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's really whatever works for you, and you know what's best for you. So trust yourself and just be there for yourself the way you are for others. The next technique is to try to limit social media. Yes, it's a great form of connection, but it's also really easy to get addicted to scrolling through the news feeds, and it could lead to feelings of isolation as well. So it's actually recommended to try to have more Zoom calls and FaceTimes where you can see the other person. It's much better than texting or even phone calls. So incorporating that would be more nourishing for our relationships at this time. And also finding some sort of support group throughout this pandemic. So whether that's your youth group at a masjid or a college Muslim student association, anything where you know you're going to see people and check in and get that feeling of being grounded and have the support that you need. And if something doesn't exist, I encourage you to create that. You just need a couple of people who also have that desire to connect, and you can set that up for your community. And if you're not a group person, then trying to find a mentor or youth leader or counselor who you can keep in touch with on a consistent basis. Alrighty, I'm almost done. I feel like I'm talking so much, but the next one is to create your own toolbox of go-tos for when you need support. So in that, I encourage you to write 2 people who love you unconditionally and accept you. And if you're ever feeling super down, you know that they are there for you. So having them written down. Then 2 things that you can do to calm yourself when you feel sad or anxious. So it doesn't have to be anything that I've shared, but whatever works for you, just have those go-tos ready because we will feel anxious and sad. So we can kind of help ourselves that way. And then also 2 resources that you can reach out to, and 3 of them are on this call. So that should be easy. And I encourage you to save the Nassiha number as well. I wish I knew about that when I was a Muslim teenager. So yeah. Okay. And lastly, please, please, please reach out and seek support when you need it. It doesn't make you weak. It makes you brave. You taking care of your mental health and emotional health helps everyone around you. It's not selfish. It's not self-indulgent. You are modeling that positive, healthy behavior for everyone. And please don't postpone or delay getting help. When someone breaks their leg or if they're diagnosed with cancer, they don't wait months and years to seek the appropriate treatment. But oftentimes that's what we do for our mental health. We don't take it seriously, and we oftentimes delay that help until we're really in crisis when there was support available earlier on. So please don't wait so long. And as I close, I just want to remind us all that mental health challenges can be temporary. Just because you feel this way right now doesn't mean you'll feel this way forever. You can still thrive and have a great future, great relationships, a great career, even if you're living with anxiety, depression, or any other mental health challenges. And I'd like to leave you with this quote by Ustada Yasmine Mujahid. She says, "Sometimes the ocean floor is only a stop on the journey, and it is when you are at this lowest point that you are faced with a choice. You can stay there at the bottom until you drown, or you can gather pearls and rise back up, stronger from the swim and richer from the jewels." So Jazakallah khair for this opportunity to share, and I hope it was somewhat beneficial.
Thank you so much, Yasmine. We really appreciate you joining us and sharing your knowledge and really applicable advice with us. And we're super grateful for people like you in our community who can address these topics that are not really commonly discussed or are taboo, like mental health and suicide prevention, everything along those lines. So Jazakumullah khair for spending your time with us today. Next, I would like to introduce our next speaker, Brother Fayaz. He's going to be providing a spiritual grounding for us to embody as we start returning back to school. So to introduce him, Brother Fayaz Jat is from Toronto. He currently serves as the Director of Youth Programming and Services for ISNA. And he has been involved with the Muslim Youth of North America, or MINA, as an advisor for over 15 years. He is known for his ability to connect with youth and tackle sensitive and relevant issues facing the youth today. And he believes in a balanced approach of growing and living in today's society with a strong Muslim identity. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it on to Brother Fayaz.
I'm not muted, I'm just kidding. All right, Bismillah. Bismillah. It's always a fear, right? Oh my God, they just started, we missed something. And no, I'm just kidding, I'm not muted. I wanted to do that joke for a while. All right. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah, Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri, wa hlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli, Allahumma anfa'na bima 'allamtana wa zidna 'ilma. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless this gathering, to bless Nassiha, to bless AMHP, to bless Minna, to bless all these organizations out there that are doing work in the mental health field, that are doing work in the youth field, and the community involvement, that are doing work in all sorts of causes. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to relieve the pain and the suffering of our brothers and sisters across the world who are going through any and every any tribulation right now. Ya Rabbil Alameen, we ask that you make the path ahead of us easier. We ask that you make the path ahead for everyone, inshallah. We ask that you make it easier and brighter, Ya Rabbil Alameen. It is really hard to go after Yasmine Arfani. Yasmine, your nervousness only made you that much more stronger in what you had to say, and I could feel, and I felt the goosebumps on me with everything you were saying. So, Jazakumullahu khairan, Yasmine, Tariq, Jazakallah khair, Faizan. One thing I remarked from each of you was that, Faizan, I get it. It's the question about your senior year. Like what do we do in that situation? Yasmine, Tariq, I thought I was an uncle, but you don't like technology and you want to get rid of it too. Looks like you got auntie status right now, mashallah. Just kidding. And Yasmine and Fanny, mashallah, just understanding that, subhanAllah, we're not alone. And we have to, when you, that remark that you made, and I know you're relating it from your teacher, but you name it to tame it, and like identify that you're not alone is something, subhanAllah. My daughter, we were out today. We were here today, not out, we were here. And she loves to go out and play and da-da-da. And she doesn't know her limits. Like, one thing I know about her is she'll just, even if she's hurt, she's in pain, she'll just keep playing. Like, it doesn't bother her. And then afterwards, she'll like, oh, Abi, my ear's hurting, this hurting. But today she came to me, and in the midst of fun, she's like, Abi, I want to go inside, like, I'm done. And I was like, Habibti, perfect. You're getting it now. And she's like, why are you so happy? I'm like, you're identifying when you can't do something. Like when you've hit your limit and you're beginning to vocalize that. You're not waiting till the pain comes afterwards and then it's really hard to go through it, but you're talking about it right now. So come on, let's go inside. And I went, set her up inside and made her all happy. And she felt really good. She thought I would be like, no, come on, stay and play. But I realized, no, that's not what we got to do. Right, Yasmine? We have to like encourage the identification of where someone and what someone is feeling and give them that pathway so that they understand and they're able to vocalize when they're in a situation. Now, Yasmine, Tariq, I'm going to call you Tariq, right? And Faizan, you guys are in this precipice along with all the other high school and college students are listening in or are going to watch this video. You're about to embark on a journey that no one in the past has. And I know we ended the year, but we haven't began a year in a situation where we don't know what this is going to look like. And for that, it is a very daunting thing to look upon. You're basically getting onto the ship and you're saying, I don't know where I'm headed. And I know I got to get somewhere, but I don't know how I'm going to get there. I don't got a barometer to check the pressure. I don't know how to work my sails. I don't know, what the weather is going to be like. I don't have my iPhone and the weather app to check what's going on. And you're about to go into this thing. You're about to go into this. I don't want to call it a void, but you're about to go on this journey. We're not going to call it a void. We're going to call it a journey. And so the one thing I want everyone to realize is that this is no stranger to Islam. This concept of going out into a place that you've not been before and then it feeling very like, what is going on? Where am I? What's happening? It's not strange to our deen. In fact, it began at the very first revelation of Islam, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after Iqra, I'm not going to tell the story because everyone knows it, right? But after Iqra, what happens to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? There are some riwayah that talk about how he sallallahu alaihi wasallam went into a space of sadness because he missed the revelation coming to him. And he missed it. And there was some riwayah that Sheikh Abdul Nasir Jannah was just remarking with us a few weeks ago that he was at the top of a mountaintop being like, man, do I just throw myself? Do I just go off here? Like, because I missed that so much. And so so we have to realize that the consciousness that we have to realize that the reality of mental health is no stranger to Islam. Our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, first revelation goes through it right afterwards. This is how early it happens. We know Prophet Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam, when he was in the well, could you imagine in the well, he's in there, and in some way it was like 30 days, in some way it was like a long, and he was in there and he was in this position of dayiq, like he was like confined and in this space, and what it must have felt like in that time, alone and by himself. That's how does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala remedy us through this journey. And not only this, but let's talk about this. You know, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he went through a lot of loss in his life as well. At the loss of his children, he cried. He wept at the loss of his children. At the loss of his wife, his beloved Khadija radiallahu anha. You want to talk about someone who felt sorrow of losing their beloved, that years later, he would still, when meat was like, you know, when he had meat from a sacrifice, whatever, he would make sure that it was a portion of it was given to the friends of his beloved wife Khadija radiallahu anha. And so that, look at that love, like he never let that love go. But where did that pain of loss come from? In some sort, it says that when the Muslims were put into the embargo situation in Mecca by the Quraysh, and they were ostracized and put into what you would somehow, like they're alone, they can't go out, they can't interact with other people, they can't marry other people, they can't have their weddings, they can't have this, they can't do business, they can't do anything. Sound familiar? Sound familiar? Can't go to school, can't get education, can't preach, can't do anything. They're in this for years, they're in this situation. And because of the poverty in that time, they got sick, and she had passed away from a sickness in that time. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his beloved wife, passed away from what we would now look at the situation we're in, from a similar, you know, pandemic, this quarantine, this being isolated and by ourselves. Could you imagine how much pain that would sit with him? And so Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam remarks on something very amazing, and he says that when you are at a state of loss, like when you've lost someone and they're near and they're dear to you, and you're really chewed up by it and you're beaten up by it, but he goes, remember me, remember your loss of him sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is there's multiple angles for this, and the biggest one is that it's not to diminish the pain that we're going through, but to realize that the Prophet ﷺ is telling in him as an example for us to realize that there's a pathway out for mental, for any, and I'd like how Sister Yasmine put it, Irfani, that it's not about mental illness, it's about the mental health. It's about making sure that we're all okay and we're getting through this together. And what's the biggest way to get through it together? What's that biggest thing? Number one is you're not alone. You said it already. Number one is we're not alone. You have to realize, everybody in this room, you're not alone. So then that brings us to our first state, for me at least, of concern. I've got a lot of youth, I'll talk about a lot of concerns that, right? But the first one that I want to mention is about the state of concern of becoming isolated. When youth, and I've seen this too many times, they go into, since pandemic started, a countless number of moms and fathers have called me, my child is going to sleep after Fajr, and they're waking up, mashallah, Maghrib time. Like, ya Latif, what are they? Like the sleep pattern, it's completely ullu. Not in the bad way, but owl. Like it's upside down, right? We become nocturnal. I wasn't going to say the other way. And it became upside down. So then the concern becomes, listen, what do we have to do with our situation of isolation? When we break our routines and we break our routines down, we don't complete them, or we don't have what's, you know, these good, nice, safe boundaries around us or people around us, then things begin to collide. And this is where we begin to put ourselves into a space where we become isolated. And this is what we need to be cognizant of and begin to recognize. So if you see yourself, you're a person, you just look at your life right now. If you spent the summer and you're like in your room all the time, not talking to your parents, I had enough of them, I'm not talking to my friends, I've totally become this virtual person, you know, that's it, I'm just spend, you know, all the way through the night on PS16 or whatever it is that's out there today, and we're just going through life, or we're just TikToking away, and we become isolated, then that's something to be concerned about. That's concern number one. Because that is not a state we should be in. We should realize we are not alone. So don't put ourselves in a lonely situation. We should go around us, and exactly like Yasmine said, she said FaceTimes and Zoom chats and like the physical, not physical, but like the virtual call, but you can actually see someone like this. These are very profound and they have profound effects. So if you can't see someone in person, at least do your best to see them virtually, at least as face-to-face, yani, like, you know, whatever, like conversational time, you should absolutely get it, all right? So if you're in a situation where you're noticing, like, yo, my sleeping pattern is off, I'm going to sleep, we need to fix this. This is number one. And the reason why I give you this as a really big cause is because when school starts, and my nephew was over today, I was talking to him, I'm like, listen, you're about to start university. We start after Labor Day. And I'm like, listen, there's gonna be two types of students. There's gonna be students who are like for virtual class, they're like, oh, I'll just sleep in at my 8 o'clock class and I'll just wake up at 1 o'clock and I'll watch the recording. And there's gonna be the students that get ahead of everything. Like, yo, I'm gonna go, they're gonna give me the recordings. I'm gonna do everything right time. I'm gonna go everything. I'm gonna get my routine back. I'm gonna get everything back. This is how we keep ourselves within boundaries that help us maintain a healthy surrounding around ourselves. But when we let things fall to the wayside, like our physical health, like our physical surroundings, like our, even our virtual surroundings and our virtual, and then we let that thing fall to the wayside, this is how where we allow for mental health situations to come about. And we're allowing them. So we need to do our best to ensure that, you know, we're conscious of what's around us. And like Yasmine said, we need to identify it, name it, and talk about it and fix it before it becomes a bigger problem. But don't be afraid if it does become a bigger problem, because that's why organizations like AMHP and Nassiha, FYI, Stones to Bridges, again, Yasmine herself and countless other mental health professionals are here for those situations. And we don't want you to ever think that, you know, when you leave this call, that's it. Oh, I don't know where to go. No. No matter what situation you're in through the course of the year, 100% realize that you have a place to go. You always have a community to reach out to. You always have people to reach out to. You always have people within, even if not your family and that cool uncle or auntie you can't go and see, whoever, like Yasmine, Tariq, just kidding, right? You can't go and see that, right? You have what? You have Nassiha to go to, FYI, the Family Youth Institute, great amount of resources, the Stones to Bridges, AMHP, these organizations do like a lot of work to be able to provide the community with resources. And so I want you to realize that those resources are out there, right? Okay, there's two more things I want to say really quickly. The first thing is that in this new year, the second thing about this year is to identify is your sleep patterns and your patterns. That's the first thing we want to work on and make sure it's good. The second thing is about maintaining that life we had before, of not of bad things, but of causes. You see, if this was a physical year and you'd be going back to university or college, you would work through your thing and you would see all these causes, like people protesting, people doing all these things. There are a lot of causes out there and a lot of initiatives out there that you can be a part of and you should be a part of. And so if you realize that, like, look at our situation and you look at what our Uyghur Muslim brothers and sisters are going through. Look at what our Palestinian brothers and sisters are going through. How can we still be a part of those causes to assist them, to help them, to do what we absolutely can to raise awareness about the situation, to lobby our politicians about the situation, to become a volunteer, call up Nassiha, I want to volunteer, I'm able to, for those that have the capacity, right? Those that don't have the capacity, that's okay. There's nothing wrong. We're not expecting everyone in this single world, everyone on this call to like be someone who could volunteer with Nassiha. No, we need the ones that can volunteer to be there for the ones that need help. And that was the example Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam gave us when he's building Masjid al-Nabawi. You do this, you do that, you did. Not everyone did the same job, right? But everyone has a job, and don't be afraid or don't feel bad about the job you have. Even if it's someone in need, calling Nassiha and saying, yo, I'm going through a hard time. Sister Yasmine, I need help. That, there's nothing wrong with that. That is a role that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has provided the community so that we can provide for that person. So that we, the ones are not the ones that can help, you're our amana. The ones who are in need are an amana for the ones who are able to help. So never feel bad. Oh man, I'm in a bad state. How can I reach out to Nassiha? How can I reach out to AMHP? How can I? No. Don't let shaitan detract you away from getting help. Because just like Yasmine said, it's about identifying where you're at so that you can go and attack those resources and get those resources. So that's a very, very, very important thing. And the last thing I wanted to mention was, so I was thinking, like, Yasmine, your talk really gave me a lot of notes. Jazakumullahu khairan. Was the last thing was about oh yeah, okay, so the last thing is about community. All right, so when we understand all the causes out there, we also have to understand that we are a part of a community, and no matter whether that community can physically see each other or not, there were Muslims in the time of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that were in Habasha, right? There were Muslims who are under Najashi. How many kilometers away, how many miles away there were Muslims in Medina, and they were all spread apart. The people always knew their sense of community. Know your sense of community. Know yourself and bring back the feeling and the sense of community. Don't be isolated. Don't be by yourself. Watch your habits. Make sure you're not yani like, yo, if you notice, like just like Yasmine said, your eating habits are going bad, your sleeping habits are going bad, your social habits are going bad. These are things that we need to be cognizant of. Know right away, identify and sit down and call it. Don't be afraid to name it. Don't be. Just like Yasmine said, absolutely don't. Why? Because this comes from Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. How do we know that he went through what he went through out of the revelation? Because of hadith, because he spoke about it. He mentioned it to someone else, and we got the revelation. We got that hadith. We got that story today. We know about it today because he, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, talked about it. So let's be people who talk about what we're going through and never be afraid of what you're going through, and know that there are organizations and there are people and wonderful individuals and groups that are here to assist, inshallah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to use us as a means to help those in need, use as a means to help the community and help the individuals that are going through difficulty, uses as a means to raise our hands and make dua for our brothers and sisters in humanity and in faith in the world who are going through difficulty, whether they be the Uyghurs, whether they be in Beirut, Kashmir, Palestine. The list goes on and on. There are countless number of people who we need to make dua for, who we can make dua for. So we can always, no matter what situation we're in, be there for us, be there for our global community. So let's be individuals that do that, inshallah. I want to thank Nassiha, thank AMHP, and obviously Mina, mashallah, Yasmine, alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen, Yasmine, and Faizan. You guys left me in awe today with amazing, understandings of what youth are going through. And youth, please understand, Yani, like from the bottoms of our heart, like, you are the ones that we love and we invest. So if there's anything you need, don't ever hesitate to reach out to these organizations, inshallah. جزاكم الله خيرا. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم.
All right, thank you so much, Brother Fayaz. We really appreciate you for providing that, spiritual grounding for us and sharing your knowledge and advice with the youth. It's always lovely to hear you speak. So Jazakumullah khair for your time and efforts. Everyone keep Brother Fayaz and his family in your du'as, inshallah. Okay, so now we're going to go back to our youth speakers who are going to be sharing some of the strategies they are using to deal with the challenges of the new year. So I'm going to hand it back to Faizan. He can go ahead and get started, inshallah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so when I was talking, there was a lot of like, negatives and stuff like that. And I was kind of like focusing on and really looking at what I'm missing and things like that. But one of the important things I think with going back to school and, navigating through this new normal is just, putting on a positive lens, not really, saying like, I can't do this, can't do that. I really can't go anywhere or something like that. But instead, be focusing on the positives, inshallah, like count your blessings. And that's one thing that Islam teaches us to, after every salah, like 33 times, alhamdulillah, for everything that you have. One of my camp counselors at Mina said, like, after every time you say alhamdulillah, after like a salah or something, think of an individual thing that you can be thankful for. And it could be like as random as like my lamp, like right here, like alhamdulillah for this light, otherwise like it would just be dark, I wouldn't be able to do work here. It just wouldn't be good, the lighting wouldn't be perfect. I'm just kidding. But yeah, just so just remaining super thankful, counting your blessings, inshallah. So yeah. And another thing, I think, and this is just if anybody asks me for like any advice, like if a freshman or something asks me for advice for their high school year, the first thing I say is like self-care, like take care of yourself. That's the most important thing. Sophomore year and junior year, that's not even Corona. We're not even talking about this before Corona and everything. I would be like going to school and I'm like, I'm tired. I don't want to do anything. Then I'm like, wait, why am I tired? And then I'm like, oh yeah, I got 5 hours of sleep. That's why I'm tired. So like the first thing I decided, I was like, I have to fix like my sleep. I have to get sleep. like, you know, we all have these goals that we want to accomplish, but it's hard to sustain that and keep that success up for a high level, at a high like standard, if you're going off 5 hours of sleep for like, you know, a school year or something. So inshallah, be aiming for your like 8 hours of sleep. And I know, especially like in high school and like in college, you're like praised for like being busy, being stressed, not getting sleep. It's like, oh wow, you got 5 hours of sleep. You must be a real hard worker. Like, you know, it's like you're getting like like a pat on the back or something. But like, I no pat on the back is as good, feels as good as waking up not tired, you know, waking up after a full night of sleep, I sounds weird, like me talking about this, but like it is so important. Like already, like during this school year, going to school, waking up, when I've gotten a full 8 hours, it's not like I'm walking, it's not like I'm half asleep walking through like the school day, but like, you know, when you get those 8 hours, I was taught this in my psych class, that's where your brain like kind of, you know, cleans up like the quote unquote like cobwebs, I guess, you know, your brain really like cleans out itself. So for one, you get smarter, you learn stuff like memory, and all that stuff is most learned while you sleep. So if you want to sleep, you know, if you sleep for like 8 hours, that's more time for you for the stuff that you were studying right before you're going to sleep. That stays with you longer and goes into your long-term memory, and you're able to recall it. And also, you like physically you grow taller while you sleep. You know, you're taller at the beginning of the day, and when you slept longer, yeah, right, brother Fias? Me and you both can take a note from that. But you know, sleeping, you know, physically, like you are just like your body is able to recover. You don't like feel just like ready to like fall over and sleep at like any moment, you know. So that's one super important thing, you know, just, you know, get those 8 hours inshallah. And you know, it doesn't have to be, you know, 8 hours. I was talking to my doctor, she said like 7, you know, if it's like 7 at least is like a good mark to shoot for. 7.5, that's like a good sweet spot. Well, there's REM cycles, and they go in like cycles of about an hour and a half. So if you sleep for 7.5 hours, if you wake up after that time, you'll feel the most awake. But then if you were to wake up like at 7 or like 6.5 hours, you're in the middle of a cycle. So you're gonna wake up tired, like physically more tired. So yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to share. Just, you know, self-care, do like 2 or 3 things a day that are just like solely for you. And one of those maybe sleeping, one of that just maybe like knocking a quick episode out on like Netflix or something. Or even just like going out and just being with your family, being with your friends, going out and grabbing ice cream or something. Yasmine brought up a really, really good point about just, you know, FaceTime somebody, talk to somebody, and keep those social interactions up, inshallah. So yeah, that's my coping technique is, inshallah, just self-care, taking care of yourself first and foremost, because if you're, you can't perform in any way at your best if you're not getting your sleep and taking care of yourself. So yeah, Jazakallah.
Thank you so much, Faizan, for sharing that really important reminder. Self-care is definitely really important, and you know, that's like the first should be a priority, especially when going back to school. So yeah, Jazakumullah khair. I'm going to go ahead and pass it on to Yasmine Tariq to share her side of strategies.
Before I begin, I just like to emphasize that what works for me will probably not work for you, but just to give you guys a little insight of what it's like daily life in college, I'll go through that with you. So naturally, I am a program chair. I'm EC program. So when I tell you I have my schedule planned out every day, depending on which day it is, I actually really do that. And that's what really helped me get through like last semester or last year in general. But this semester, I don't want to fall behind because I did fall behind last semester. So trying to get ahead of that this semester. So like I said, I plan like my whole schedule. And I don't know if you guys know, like, you know, when we were little and we used to get those like physical planners, and then it's like separated by the day and you write which homework you have on this day. That doesn't work for me. I probably bought like 10 planners in my whole life, and it just doesn't work for me. But what does work for me is I I'm always on my phone a lot. So on Google like Calendar, you can type in stuff on there and it just, your phone reminds you automatically. And that's what has honestly been saving me and will save me for this semester, inshallah. So for me, I also work overnight. So it sounds pretty crazy. So I don't sleep during the night. I work like from 11 to 7 a.m. And that's pretty much most days except for the weekends. And so after I get off of work, that's when I head to the gym, which is at my university, which I also work at. Now the gym opens up around like 5 a.m. So I missed the first shift, but I work the second one and then I work out the third after I get off. And then I go to class. And it sounds really crazy, but I'm this is like my peak. This is how I thrive. And Brother Piaz knows I love my Red Bull. Red Bull keeps me going, but it's not good. Don't drink Red Bull. Anyways, so if you ask me like when do I sleep, I take like little power naps like in between like my classes, and you would think that's like, okay, that's like not good or it's not effective, but that's just what works for me. I need like a quick like 3-hour, 4-hour pick me up and I'm good to go. But then there are some days where I do get to sleep, the whole night. So that's good too. That's what I'm going to be, that's going to be hard to get back into because obviously when I get off of work, in the summer, I can just go to sleep during the day, get my 8 hours and I'm good. But once school starts, I won't have the luxury to go back to sleep. I'll have to go to class, but it's worked last semester and I plan for it to work again this semester, inshallah. Like I was saying about the virtual learning, I don't thrive in it. So what the university has been offering is like an additional tutoring to that. So it's another virtual thing you have to go to, but it's more one-on-one tutoring and it's completely free. And if you guys have that, check out, TA sessions. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys have that at your universities if you're going to college, or after school tutoring for high school as well. And then when it comes around to like finals time, that's when I think is going to be the biggest struggle for everyone, because all the professors like to have all their finals on the same day or the same week. And it's like, okay, you have to review a whole, semester's worth of knowledge in that time. So that's when everyone goes to the university, which I don't know how it's going to work this semester. Honestly, when I tell you I have no clue how the packed library is going to be empty, I don't know if that's going to happen. Like, I really just don't know how it's going to work. But me and my friends, we already set up we have like a permanent like Zoom link that we always we have scheduled times we go on there, we review on our own, or if we meet up, we go outside or something like that. But sorry, I was reading that comment. What I was gonna say that threw me off a little bit. Shoot. Okay, I'm gonna come back to it, inshallah, if I remember. But another thing we struggle with in the MSA is, I know a lot of people are going to be like on campus, and just because they have to, they're living on there. If they're not from Kansas City, they're staying in on a dorm. We have a salah room that the MSA made a couple years ago, but the thing about it, it's super, super, super small, and it hasn't been a problem, in the past, because we're like, okay, just squeeze. But now I don't know how we're going to fit like 10, 15 people to 20 people in a small room. So now that I'm president, I reached out to the SGA and we're working on getting a lot bigger room, like an actual room instead of like a small closet type room. But we're going to see if we can get a room just dedicated for us. We keep it super clean. You can't wear your shoes in there. It's called like a meditation room, but it really only the Muslims use it. But we'll take it. We take anything we can get. Another struggle that a lot of students have reached out to me, through MSA, is that, a lot of the cafeterias are really restricting, towards like on food, like you have to make it in a certain time. And if you don't make it on that certain time, then you're out of luck for food. So what we've been doing is we organize with a lot of like khadat and like aunties, everyone's like putting together like type of like drive-by potlucks type thing. So all they have to do is literally just drive up, pick up a dinner. And that's another way people on campus, if you guys are going to be living on campus this semester, try to get something like that figured out so we can get that going. And I'm going to read this. Maybe tell them if you are not in an overnight work situation, it's best to get your rest. Oh, yeah. So if you guys are not working overnight, it is really important to get your rest. Like I said, it worked for me, but that's something I've been training myself on for like a year or two now. So at the beginning, I really, truly did struggle. And it was really hard for me to stay awake in classes. And I have probably so many videos of me falling asleep in class that my friends took. So definitely don't train yourself in the beginning of the semester. It's something you need to, train your body how to do before the semester begins. And yeah, I really can't remember what I was going to say. for that other thing, but it had to do with mental health and how people are, oh yeah, that's what it was. So another issue that has been like super like intense for the college students is that, you know, because a lot of classes are online and like virtually, they have to do them from home because, you know, coffee shops are closed. And it becomes to a point where like if you live in a house that's like toxic, for example, or, you know, it's a lot of noise, or, you know, you're literally stuck at home and it's not the best like living situation, it can be like, you know, seriously tough. Like I had a girl actually reach out to me and she explained to me that was actually her situation. And I'm just like, I kind of like alhamdulillah, you know, alhamdulillah for what I have and, you know, the house that I live in. But some people actually have it really tough. And just because, you know, you're not going through it doesn't mean that someone else isn't. So making sure to check up on your friends. Alhamdulillah, we found a, you know, somewhat of a solution for her. There we have like a place on campus for her because she was also worried about, you know, COVID and stuff. So she would be doing like rotations between like the on campus and people who actually live like near campus in an apartment. So when it comes to like times when she actually really like needs to study hard, you know, and doesn't need any distractions at home, she can come anytime, you know, she wants. I've opened up my house to her, like just kind of be there for others, especially if you're in a better situation. And there's even people who are in a better situation than you, just always, you know, kind of help bridge that gap between people who don't have it as well as you, because there are people among you and you won't even be able to tell. They can be the happiest, chirpiest person around you, but low key they're going through it the worst. So always, you know, keep tabs on your friends, keep tabs on people who are not your friends, who are just Muslim, even if they're not Muslim, like be a good example in that too. And yeah, that's kind of how we're going to be taking it this semester. Inshallah, it goes well. Thank you.
Thank you, Yasmine, for that really helpful advice. Definitely always good to hear the perspectives from the youth as well. So once again, I'd just like to thank all of our speakers, you know, for sharing their advice and knowledge and techniques with us. Please keep them all in your du'as. You know, they're here for, they were able to take the time out of their Saturday to speak with us. Before we close, I just want to take some time to open it up for questions. If you do have questions, you can send it in the YouTube chat, or you can also put it in the anonymous form that's available on that YouTube link. So yeah, inshallah, we'll give it some time for questions to come in. One question I do have is that how can we communicate with our schools if we find ourselves struggling with balancing our mental health and classes with everything else going on, especially when we are doing classes virtually? So communicating with schools. If anyone wants to take that on, go ahead, inshallah.
Can you repeat that real quick? Sorry.
Yeah, it was, how can we communicate with our schools even if we find ourselves struggling with balancing our mental health and classes with everything going on, especially when we are virtual? So reaching out to schools regarding all of it.
Yasmine or Fanny, do you want to make a comment on resources in terms of colleges and stuff like that? I was going to add to it as well, inshallah. Just you obviously, the first thing you want to do is just check what resources are still available through the administration of the school. So for example, counselors, what, you know, is their clinic still open, even if it's for virtual calls? A lot of people are doing telehealth services right now still as well. So that might be a good place to start and look into in your individual colleges and campuses, just to ascertain, you know, through the administration, what health services are available. That's the first thing you want to make a call to, and find out even what their hours are. Just have it ready. You know, you would find out what your doctor's hours are, and you know your doctor's office hours off the top of your head. Know the clinicians, the clinic's office hours as well. Find out what counseling and what mental health services they have available, and then just have it ready. And you can as well, obviously, if you share that through your MSA and through your college, you know, you can let other students know that as well. So that would be the first place to start. And then I'll hand to Yasmine as well. But you know, as a backup, like, hey, if that is not available, we know that, for example, Nassiha is working. You know, they do evenings and you know, like later shifts outside of you know, usual clinic hours. So that's a secondary resource, and not even a secondary in terms of saying, but just a second resource for you guys to have. And then as well, you know, there's online resources like, again, Stones to Bridges, all these guys, like alhamdulillah, AMHP, if Yasmine, you want to comment even on the college stuff too as well.
Sure. So I completely agree with what Brother Fiaz just shared. It's hard to say because we're like, who knows where a person is dialing in from, like like I'm in New York and California, but it really, like really, please do check out your own individual college or school and talk to the leadership. And what I'd like to add is, especially with our masjids, like asking the masjid boards and leadership, like what are you doing to provide mental health support for our community, holding them accountable and sharing the importance of these resources, because we need mental health education and awareness and safe spaces everywhere, not just in the schools. So I just wanted to add that.
Yasmine, Faizan, did you guys want to give a comment from your perspective of colleges and stuff like that?
Well, for me, it's like the professors, it's like they're at their own discretion. So they have already been informed by, like, you know, what are they called? Like the dean and stuff. Like they already set their boundaries at the beginning, and you kind of just have to go with it. And they can't accommodate 10,000 students at a time. So it's kind of like, if you are like super uncomfortable, that's what we've been told, because we did reach out to advisors. Hey, like, we don't feel safe going to a class with over like 100 people. They're like, if you don't, then you will need to drop the class for this semester, pick it up next semester or whenever you can. Just because they had a hard time finding the balance. And I understand, like, it is hard to, you know, accommodate to everyone. So they've given us options. The most we can do is send an email. If anything is like super outrageous, then we start, you know, the petitions go around and stuff like that. But for the most part, they've done a good job at, you know, explaining everything, like, so that, you know, they answered all our questions and stuff like that. I do think they're taking like kind of taking necessary precautions. Like, everyone has to wear a mask on campus all the time. Even in the gym, we have to wear masks. So yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see how it goes. There's no way to tell. Like, it's easy to say stuff, you know, before actually stepping into the classroom. But once everyone is on campus, we'll see how it goes. Everyone's anticipating for it to get, you know, everyone to get sent home again, but we'll see how it goes. It's hard to tell.
Thank you all for sharing your answers to that question and your perspectives. Yeah, we're taking more questions still, inshallah, so if you have any, please submit them. I have one here that says, what are some ways that parents can help support their youth during online schooling while still giving them space to focus on their classes and on their mental health? Any of you, inshallah, can go ahead.
I'm not a parent, but that's a good question.
I was going to ask that Yasmine and Faizan really give their perspective on this from being students. So what spaces would you like to see, or what resource would you like to see, or relationship would you, or tools would you like to see between yourself and your parents in the provision of providing and provision of, you know, having a safe mental health, any like scholastic experiences you get back into school and stuff?
I can actually go, actually.
Yeah.
One thing for me, and I know it's probably the case with a lot of kids my age, is that my mom expects me, you know, like I'm in charge of the kitchen, you know what I mean? As far as like cleaning it, whether throughout the day. And for me, like, I'm gone all night. I'm gone for most of the day. So if I come home and I see like dishes that my brother, you know, hasn't made, and my little brother is like, why am I responsible? You know what I mean? It's like a constant question, like, why am I responsible? I was not here. And you guys have your breakfast, lunch, and dinner dishes here. Like, and I have to, you know, I come home from work, I want to shower, I need to do my homework, do a test. So if I were to give my mom advice, you know, one thing, like, just cut me some slack in the kitchen. Like, if I come home one day and it doesn't get done, you know, just leave it for me. I'll do it tomorrow or something like that. Like, I just need a break sometimes when it comes to expectations in the house. Just sometimes. You know, I agree, it can get out of hand, but sometimes cut me some slack there.
All right. I'll call your mom. Don't worry. You're good. I got you. You know, no, I think I leading off of what Yasmine has said, and I'll pass it back to you in a second, is just understanding from a parental perspective is that this is a world that our youth have never been through before. And again, I understand that we may have ended last year, but beginning a year in this way is very different. And so, you know, the quantity of unknowns and question marks in our youth's minds is enough for them to be, or a lot for them to be burdened with. So as much ease as we can yani like provide and resources we can provide. And, you know, looking at the schedule, perhaps it's not such a, you know, it's a lighter schedule. It's Yasmine, you got Monday, Wednesday, this, you know, I got the other due days or whatever it is, or, you know, meeting halfway and just being, you know, yani like okay with it. And I think it's the constant check-ins, you know, and not like, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you? No. But it's like, yo, how are you doing? Let's go for a walk. Let's go grab a, I was going to say Timmy's, but y'all are in Canada. I was going to say, let's go grab you know, a Tim Hortons. Let's, you know, just go grab a Dunkin', right? You know, go for a little walk and just, you know, sometimes even a walk in silence is a great atmosphere. Sometimes, you know, that's enough. And so for parents, I would say, you know, definitely be cognizant and have a healthy relationship. Make sure communication is healthy, and that's a two-way street. So it's got to be coming from both ways. It's got to be made sure that, you know, that it's healthy and strong, and then as well, just provide a good, fun, relaxed environment also between the two, so that in the event that something needs to be raised as a concern, you've got a beautiful platform to work off of and have that conversation.
Yeah, just like retweet to everything Brother Fias said. Providing that communication, and especially with what when he was talking about, like, none of us have been through this. You know, both sides, I guess, the, you know, the children and the parents are gonna make mistakes. You know, and I can say already through quarantine, I've made like a lot of mistakes. You know, and specifically in the relationship with my parents. But yeah, one thing, alhamdulillah, I've talked with my parents about this too, is just like, you know, I'd say I'm a pretty like positive person, pretty like outgoing and stuff. But you know, sometimes it's just like I really just don't want to like talk to anybody or anything. It's not that I don't want to like talk to my parents, because obviously I'll come home and ask to them, like, you know, how their day was and stuff like that. But you know, sometimes if like sometimes it's just better for me to like, you know, kind of be in my own space and stuff like that. And you know, like Brother Fiaz was saying, you know, just to, you know, if you like, if you're a parent, you know, you swing by to your kid's room or something like that. If they close the door, it's fine. It's not that large. It's not that big of a deal. You know, kind of having this like I know, you know, when with my like if my door is closed, you know, that's kind of like a signal to my parents that like, you know, I'm doing a little bit of work. You know, it's like kind of like maybe I'm on a call or something. So maybe it's like not the best to like just swing the door open, because then it will like distract me and things like that. But you know, still engaging in like, you know, dialogue. You know, it doesn't have to be some super crazy deep intellectual talk, but it just, you know, checking in. I'd say like at least once or twice a day. And yeah, and allowing your child, I guess, to, if they want to do, if they want to have some space, if they want to, you know, hang out with friends, obviously in a socially distanced way, to do that. But yeah, that's just my advice. I'm a kid though, so I may be a tiny bit biased. So yeah.
Thank you all for sharing your answers to that. I don't believe that there are any other questions that were submitted. So inshallah, we can go ahead and wrap up. I'd just like to once again thank all of our lovely speakers for spending time on their weekend with us to share their insights. We appreciate all of you. Inshallah, keep all of our speakers in your du'as. And we also like to thank all of you who attended this webinar. We really hope you benefited from it. And inshallah, it'll be available on our YouTube to watch. Also, the organizations that Minna partnered with, their resources and their links will be sent in the YouTube chat. So if you ever need to refer to them or need like a resource, you know, need to turn to that organization, inshallah, that will be on hand for you as well. So once again, I just want to thank everyone for coming and thank all of the speakers for sharing their knowledge with us today. And we will close there, inshallah. Jazakallah khairan. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Jazakallah khair.
Alaikum.